And first pass, we're going to just get a pretty light wash of the colors. They're pretty diluted down. But we can always go back with a second coat once it's dry, make it a more opaque color. That's a nice blue.
The trick with watercolors is not to make them too watery when you brush them, so that way, because otherwise they just puddle up
Yeah.
and make them, and then it just becomes one gigantic mess.
Yeah.
I learned that the first time I used watercolor in high school.
Yeah. Yeah, too much water on the paper is a bad thing. Yes. There's your towel.
You're saying, Savvy?
Too much water is a bad thing, not only for the colors, but also for the paper. Watercolor paper is specifically made to handle a good amount of water, but if you do throw too much on there, it can warp and mess up the other colors around it as well.
Which I also learned my first time.
Yeah. And you said it's been a while since you've done watercolor, right?
Yeah, it's been a while. I can't remember the last time I used it, but it's been a while.
Gotcha. I think doing like watercolor painting when it's been rainy and gloomy for the past few days is very relaxing, very soothing.
It's not a medium I'm used to because I don't do it very often,
Yeah.
if at all. So,
Well, you're
and,
doing pretty well with it.
yeah, it's also partly due to my experience in high school. It's not my particular favorite one, so
Gotcha.
my time in high school has ruined me because of this. So,
All right, well, now we got that first coat on there, so you can go ahead and do the secondary colors. And as you're doing the secondary colors, I'm actually going to have you go ahead and do these sections next to them as well. And that will be the base for our tertiary colors.
you know.
So again, we mixed all of these colors with just blue, red, and yellow pigments. I actually used two blue pigments together. It was ultramarine and cobalt blue. And the red was also two pigments. It was crimson and brilliant red. And the yellow was just medium yellow. And Liz is adding the yellow to the yellow orange.
So pretty.
Oh. Thank you to everyone watching Live Art Mini right now. And big shout out to you if you came by our booth during Pride and bought something from us. We will be having our Pride items in the store all month long as well. If you didn't get a chance to stop by. All right. Looking good so far. Got a nice gradient going on. Can go ahead and start with the purple, I would think, for the next step. That's a fun color. It doesn't look very different on the camera, but it looks pretty maroon in person.
If I do another layer of purple, it'll probably look very different.
Yeah. We can add more layers if we got time at the end. Whoa.
Believe it or not, I think I've only done like, I don't know, 3 or 4 watercolors in my life.
Wow. Well, you're pretty good with the brush. Do you do paintings?
Yeah, I do
Okay.
paintings. I do paintings. I just don't do
I know you do
watercolors.
pour paintings.
Yeah, I do pour paintings. I do other acrylic paintings,
Okay.
but I just don't do watercolor that much.
Gotcha.
So, surprisingly, I do very well with watercolor.
Yeah. I love watercolor. It's so organic. How it lays down.
Yeah, this is not a medium I typically do.
Yeah. Nice indigo there. Nice light indigo. So as Liz is laying down the final secondary color, I'm going to start talking about complementary colors, which is really why I like the color wheel so much.
It's just contrast.
Yeah.
You just contrast each other. Really.
So complementary colors are actually contrasting colors. So red and green are complementary, purple and yellow, orange and blue, and so on. The colors directly across from each other on the color wheel are
And
complementary.
if that confuses you, an excellent contrasting colors are black and white.
Yes, yes. They are opposites and they can cancel each other out when added together. So to like desaturate a color, which is something we'll talk about in our next live art mini, you would add. So, like, if you have a bright yellow and you want to desaturate it a little bit, which means to take away some of the brightness of the yellow, you would add a little bit of purple to the color. And there are actually different color wheels. I believe this is the red, yellow, blue color wheel. And then there's also one for light, which I think is, I think it's magenta, cyan, and green. Either green or yellow. Because light is a little bit different than, colors of light are a little bit different than paint colors. If you're, there are a lot of different options for what you're trying to do, what kind of medium you're working with. I like how bright the yellow is.
Yeah, it's almost as if I actually did double on that. I don't think I need to do a double on that one.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
That was just too naturally double.
Yeah. Oop.
That's the only thing I don't like about this thing. I don't like this paper for that reason.
Slips around.
Yeah, it's like I'm hitting a ball.
All right, go ahead and add a second layer to the blue and the red. But another thing you can do with complementary colors is if you are creating something and say you have a bunch of cool colors, which the cool colors are kind of right here. This is the dividing line for the cool colors. Where's it?
Cool colors are blues
Yeah.
and greens and
Blues,
purples.
greens, purples. And then warm colors are red, orange, yellow. And so if you have a bunch of cool colors in your art and you feel like it needs something else, it needs something to pop, what you can add is a warm color. So maybe you have mostly blues. If you want something to contrast strongly, you would add an orange.
Which is on the opposite of the blue.
Yeah. And you can look up really like thorough color wheels where they have just about every shade you could imagine between each primary color.
Even shades that you can't even never thought of in your life.
Yeah. And that'll really help for more complex complementary colors. Like, let's see, like a really red purple. across from that would be a pretty, let's see, I think that'd be a really green yellow. It'll help you experiment with different colors, try new things in your art.
If you're a beginner, you should just try with the first three and then mix them up.
Yeah. I think a really good experiment is to just have red, yellow, and blue paints and then see what colors you can mix. See what you can get out of that.
And make sure you have the black and the white, but just remember the black, it just dulls it down. It doesn't really darken. It darkens it, but it just dulls the color down. Then you're just stuck remixing it all.
Yes.
And the white, it does the same thing, only the exact opposite effect, in the opposite retrospect. It lightens it up, but it also dulls the color as well,
Yes.
but in a lighter way.
Uh-huh. And those are called tints, tones, and shades, and that is our theme for next week's Live Art Mini. Wonderful segue there, Liz. So that will be what our project is next week. But yeah, as you can see, that second coat is really bringing out those colors even more.
I'm gonna leave the
The tertiary colors.
tertiary colors alone.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna bring the second colors out more.
Purple really needs a little bit more.
That's what I'm
A
going
little bit more love.
The green as well, but I'm going to just do the purple next.
Yeah.
Because now, because the purple at the moment looks like some sort of lighter form of pink.
There we go. And just another watercolor tip. I personally think it's a really good idea to start with a very diluted color so that way you can add more to it as you see fit, because you cannot take away opacity. So if you start with a sheer color, you can build upon it. I do this with makeup as well. You take a sheer color, you can build upon it, but you can't take a really solid opaque color and dull it down or take away from it. All right.
Now it looks like a color wheel.
It sure does. Wonderful
This
look
one
there.
doesn't really look like an indigo, but it looks good enough.
Yeah, it might need a little bit more blue, maybe. I don't know. I think it's just sheer.
Yeah, it's just like one of those, but
Yeah,
still.
but it's a nice color gradient we got going on.
Yeah, but you can still see the color
Yeah.
gradients around it.
Again, the reds are looking really pink in the camera.
But that's
This one especially looks really pink, but it's pretty maroon in
it's just
person.
the camera.
Yeah, it's the camera.
But you can still see the differences in the colorness.
Yeah, so you ought to try it out for yourself at home so you can see just how helpful a color wheel can be. All right, Liz, what'd you think about the project today?
Not bad.
Not bad. Wonderful. And like I said, this is the basis of all color theory. This is your most fundamental lesson you can learn when starting color theory.
And again, another watercolor tip: go easy on yourself.
Yes.
Don't do the extravagant stuff yet.
Uh-huh.
Do
Yeah.
that for later.
Do some experimenting first. You can really do that with all art.
Yeah.
If you're trying something new.
This is a very easy thing, so
Yeah,
if you want to try things out with color, try this first.
Yeah.
Then watercolor.
Especially with mixing colors together. That's really helpful. But all right, thank you everyone who watched today. Sorry I could not pull up comments. For some reason, I cannot pull up the video on my phone, so flying blind. But hopefully you got a good lesson out of this. And next week we'll be going more in depth with colors, tints, and tones and shades. So I hope to see you then. Liz, would you like to say goodbye?
Bye all.
Bye all. All right, thank you so much for watching.